Hello everyone and welcome to Pokemon Hot Takes. Not too long ago, I asked you guys to give me your Pokemon hot takes, and I just want to say you guys delivered. Now I will say I'm not going to go over every hot take since some of them don't really seem like hot takes at all, but anyways, let's get into it. From Basketball Fan 23, fairy types have ruined the game. Now in my opinion, it's a bit of both. Now, the main reason why fairy types were made due to the dominance of dragon-type Pokemon, since the only thing that could deal damage to a dragon was your own dragon or an ice type, which sucks. Now, fairies were refreshing to have in the game, but we've had fairy types for a decade now, and it's arguably the best type in the game. A lot of the best Pokemon in VGC are fairy types, and the typing alone makes these Pokemon viable. I don't know if Flutter Mane would be that great if it didn't have the fairy typing. However, the fairy typing made a lot of more types better, like the fire types resisting fairies and poison types doing super effective damage. Literally the only reason why you should run a poison type is to beat a fairy type. But overall, I think the fairy type did a lot of good and bad to the game in my opinion. From Voyal Harmon, Gen 3 is extremely overrated and too much water is a valid argument in a game with wild encounters where you traverse the semi-open world. Now, I think this is a valid criticism of Hoenn. Gen 3 is a pretty popular generation and people clown on IGN for the too much water meme. However, my least favorite part about playing through a Hoenn game are the extensive water parts. Hoenn, I'd say, is pretty overrated as Emerald is arguably the Pokemon game with the most ROM hacks. Still though, I love Hoenn. From Prince Gogeta, Dynamax is the best gimmick. Now this is arguably the most hot take on this video. Dynamax is probably the most hated gimmick, but I personally think Z-moves are worse. Dynamax felt trivial in singles and in doubles, but less so in doubles. A Dynamax meta made Pokemon like Regigigas actually be a meta threat with Dynamax and the newly added Neutralizing Gas ability. However, Dynamax was still pretty OP and made Zacian's Behemoth Blade double power when used on a Dynamax Pokemon. I don't know, I just don't really fuck with Dynamax, in all honesty. From LRXC, pre-physical special split is better than post. Okay, now I can appreciate the pre-physical special split. If you guys don't know, before Generation 4, Pokemon moves were physical or special based on their type. Every evolution in Dragon type was special and every other type was physical. Now, I do like some aspects of the pre-physical special split. Alakazam can viably use the elemental punches, and some hidden power types were physical. However, I think the pre-physical special split is just outdated. I think Game Freak knew they fucked over Pokemon as their types contrast with their highest attacking stat, so they decided to make the split and base it off of, the actual moves, which made everything more viable. Imagine a world where the pre-physical special split was still around and Qian Pao having to use its stab with that 90 special attack stat, which to be honest, isn't even that bad. But no physical special split would just make some moves obsolete. Like, why use Fire Blast when Flare Blitz is not only more powerful, but also 100% accurate? Look, I like the pre-physical special split in some aspects, but that shit is just outdated. And when you look at that, you know what else is outdated? You not subscribing to the channel, as less than 2% of people who actually watch my videos are subscribed. And if you think you're subscribed, double check to make sure you're actually subscribed to the channel. I see you, you know who you are, the types of people to consistently watch my videos but are hesitant to subscribe. So, just subscribe. I also have a Discord server. If you want to join it, the link will be in the description. But anyways, back to more hot takes. From MSPT873, BDSP isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Not amazing, but a fairly good remake. Okay, now I agree with this to an extent. I feel like the BDSP slander is extremely over-exaggerated at this point. They are not the worst Pokemon games, as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are right fucking there. However, the more that I think about it, the more we had our expectations a bit too high for BDSP. Literally for every remake, they used the blueprint for the base games and not the enhanced version for the most part. I think BDSP is a fine game. I don't really see a need to hate it, though. I think the general art style tends to be extremely hit or miss, though. Hell, if you even want to check out my review of BDSP, You can after you finish this video, of course. The link will be in the description. From Android of Fire and Ice 9667, who has tons of hot takes, but I only really want to focus on the last one. The 3D models used since X and Y are mostly fine. Okay, so I'm mostly neutral towards the X and Y models. While I like some of them, some others are just fucking awful and unsettling to look at. I'm also not really a fan of the desaturation of the Pokemon. However, when it came to some of the shiny forms though, I think some of them were extremely well handled. Hell, in Generations 4 and 5, Charizard wasn't even black. It was a shade of purple, while in Gen 6 it was actually black. We don't talk about this guy though. But I can see why the X and Y models ended up the way they did. They had to make at least 700 new models with their own animations for a whole new console, so I can honestly see why the X and Y models have a lot of flaws in them. And finally, from One Dude 1389, the Sun and Moon anime is pretty good once you go past the first few episodes. Okay, no, I'm no diehard Anime-Poke fan, but the Sun Moon anime is pretty entertaining all things considered. The anime focused on more slice-of-life episodes and a lot of deep aspects about life in general, which is pretty bold coming from the Pokemon anime. I did appreciate the humor the show had to offer though. However, I do think the Alola League is pretty Mickey all things considered. It wasn't even bad, it's just the final match for the ring wasn't even a 6-on-6, which is something I can't get over, but yeah, the Sun Moon anime is pretty good in my opinion. And yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, join the Discord server, check out my other videos here, and comment down below your own Pokemon hot takes. I might even make a part 2 if this video does well. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.